I want to follow up on critical minerals. Minister Wagner, when you think about what happens next, we're talking about securing supply chains. There is still, though, a lot of concern that those deals, as Jared was mentioning, are going to get hijacked by the wrong actors, and the people of these countries will not actually benefit from their own resources. How do you ensure that doesn't happen in DRC?
I think that's a very valid question. When you look at a country like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, that is bestowed with a lot of critical minerals, without which many of the key transition discussions that we're having right now, but also sectors like the defense sector, cannot function. And you look at the living conditions of a large part of the population, you do have to challenge the paradigm that we have been functioning under for decades. And this is where our current administration is shifting the paradigm towards having an approach that is not only based on the extraction of natural resources, which has been, if you want, the status quo for decades, but it is about occupying, as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a greater space on the value chain. So not just being the point where natural resources like cobalt, like lithium are extracted, then disappear into the world markets, and then where the big decisions are taken, but actually occupying more space. That means transforming, having first levels of transformation in the DRC, investing in human capital, but also investing in a broader ecosystem, which means that when you do not focus only on extraction and you broaden the scope that you occupy, you focus on human capital, you invest in people, you invest in environment, you invest in communities, you also invest in infrastructure. We have the Lobito Corridor, which is one of the flagship projects binding together 3 countries of the sub-region, which is not just an infrastructure project, it is one that actually brings in connectivity and many other aspects. So I think this is where the administration and the vision of President Tshisekedi has been a radical step away from what has determined the extraction and the politics of natural resources in the DRC for many decades, shifting towards an approach that is more people-centered and an approach that seeks to occupy a greater space on the value chain, and which also means that the DRC then also has the ambition to be part of these conversations. Because when you're just the extraction point, you're no longer part of the conversation. And yet we realize that in a world that is increasingly connected, of course, but also characterized by interdependencies, we have to diversify, and part of diversification is precisely listening to more voices. And so our ambition is to be more present and therefore to have a voice that is better heard and that can echo some of the perspectives that are not necessarily always visible or audible.
How quickly will the people at home reap those benefits?
I think we're seeing, rapid changes and transformation in the landscape already. I think a lot of new actors are stepping in. We're very happy to be working very closely with the Trump administration. We have signed off in December a bilateral strategic partnership, which means that we will look forward to working much more closer with the Trump administration, with the US administration on the extraction and adding value to natural resources, which means that we are moving away from a landscape that was dominated by a few stakeholders to one that is much more diversified. And it means that for us, the added value is having new partners join us in the DRC, means that we're bringing new principles, we're bringing new standards, and it means that we shift the landscape also, and we shift the thresholds and the conditions. And so our hope is that very rapidly we will have a trickle-down effect that will have repercussions on our communities, but also will help us influence the actors that are already on the ground to say we are raising the bar. And so it's not just about welcoming new stakeholders and new partners that come with other approaches and standards, but also using that as a leverage point to improve the general conditions with other partners that have been present for a longer time. So this is something we're working on very closely with the US administration, but at the same time, when we have projects like the Lobito Corridor under the flagship of the EU Global Gateway Strategy, it also means that we're inviting stakeholders from the European Union that are occupying and that are playing a bigger role in the DRC. And so we're very optimistic that working hand in hand in a constructive and a frank manner, which is not always easy, but still in a constructive and frank manner with more partners, will help us have dividends that materialize much more faster.